Peace. Black Light here, coming to you on a Sunday. Sunday, still morning, getting close to afternoon. And my subject today is going to be about various topics, really, of what I heard in the news today. I heard on C-SPAN that on Washington Journal, they had the tax man on there talking about should the churches be down with 501c3s, and should they be politically orientated and have politics in the church, basically. And various call-ins called in regarding that subject matter. And my point of view is this. Caesar occupied Jerusalem and all of Israel and all of that region. They were the occupiers of that land. Now we're going to relate this back to United States. The United States started off with 13 colonies, and they were sharing this real estate with the so-called Indians, Native Americans. And let's jump it up to now. You see the Native Americans, you don't hardly see them no more. And they're protesting, I think that's in Dakota. And they always, every now and then, the Native Americans protest, Wounded Knee, all like that, Because at one time, they were the majority in this land. Mexicans and the Native Americans, they all Native Americans. Mexico too, America is just not the United States. You got North America, South America, and Central America. And at one time, all of them was considered Indians. The white man called them Indians. And in Jesus' day, the Pharisees was in with the Romans. And in our day, the churches are in with the Europeans. But I like to say the Caucasians. And I'll tell you about that later on, why I say that. Well, I could tell you about it now. Blacks occupied Europe also. We wasn't just in Africa. And see, that's one thing brothers and sisters here in America can't understand. That we was all over the planet Earth. And not just in Africa, And I'm talking about the so-called black man. That's why they want to change your status to African American. Putting you different. You got a different title or status than the African. There's some Caucasians that's over here, from South Africa, and their status is African American. So Elijah Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, when he spoke and taught, he's called us the aboriginal man of the planet Earth. And that ends that. We were here first. We're the original man. And then he called the Caucasian mankind, you know. So getting back to Jesus, it is Sunday, and we might as well talk about Jesus on a Sunday. His mission was to focus the people back on the Most High. You know, the Most High meaning there are certain laws of the universe, you know, like what goes around come back around, the law of compensation that's in the macrocosm that everything operates on. That is an atom that has a certain behavior and certain principles that governs that atom, which makes up the human being, you know. So we're talking about that Most High. That's a supreme intelligence, you know, that we can't quite comprehend or can't express it. We haven't found the vocabulary to express, you know, the terminology to express what we really want to say, or to pinpoint an accurate description of the Most High. So the Bible talks in stories and parables, so it will be easier to contain the definition of the Most High. And it's simple, you know, that children can understand it. But that was for the language, you know, back in those days. So it always comes a prophet, you know, to redefine the definition of the Most High and the laws of the definitions. I mean, you know, and define the laws of the Most High, the universal laws, in each century when the people no longer can comprehend that certain definition. You know, they start going off the law or become outlaws and start making up their own laws. And they think their laws is better than the original laws or the original intelligence. They think their intelligence is better. But through the centuries, the intelligence has dummied down. And so there's always a prophet coming along to clarify everything, and Jesus was one of those. And he came specifically to people that were being governed by Caesar, Rome, and they started bowing down to the laws and the power of Caesar. And the Pharisees went along with it, just like the preachers here today, going along with it. And political thing. And the people, you know, was beginning to lose the knowledge, the true knowledge of the Most High. So Jesus was there to remind them of that knowledge, true knowledge. And to say that no man has jurisdiction over you. No man can rule you. You are a free entity. You think the way you want to think, as long as you don't break the laws of the Most High of the universe. Because then you're going to be out you know, out of whack. You're not gonna be in tune to the Most High. What's this gonna do? Cut your life short. Your lifespan is beginning to get shorter and shorter. Now today they say they living longer and longer, but some of us are living longer and longer. You go over in other countries and they living 150 years. But over here, this society, they're dying. Even though they're living longer than they did in the frontier of America when they first came over here, the covered wagons and whatever, because they were dying over in Europe, over in London, when they was believing that the world was flat. They had all kind of disease. They was living very, very savage-like. That's why Moses came to them. They called them the Dark Ages. And the Muslim brothers came along and told them the world is round. Look at this movie, The 13th Warrior. The 13th Warrior. What was that? I can't think of the guy who starred in that. A Mexican brother who starred in that. The 13th Warrior. And it gives you a illustration of how they came out the caves. They're not too far. You know, some of them, the Jews were the first ones to come out the caves. The so-called Jews. But we ain't gonna get into that. So we relating the churches, they done forgot the message, the real message of Jesus, you know. And they worshiping Caesar now, that dollar bill, you know. They're worshiping this right here. And I heard him talking on C-SPAN saying that churches do good work in the community, not in the black community. You can have 30 churches in that community, and the houses look like slum. Look like they're slumlords in the houses. And they didn't do nothing, say anything when the housing crisis came and was swindled by the different corporations. I'm gonna cut this one short because I'm gonna come back with some more of this. Black light, back to back black, fade to black on the other side of black.